Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Y&E podcast. Thank you for joining us. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, like, share, engage us in the comment section. So we have an interesting topic that we're discussing, and it's about the Orano group taking the country Niger to the World Bank's arbitration court. And the reason is because they're looking to bar Niger from selling uranium from the Sommier mine following a legal dispute with Orano. And we know Orano is a French nuclear company, and they're not only a French nuclear company, right? The parent organization is the government of French Republic. So you got to know that this deal, although I don't have details of the deal, but I think the deal has got to be one-sided. If the deal was set up by the parent company or it was set up by the colonial master, you got to know that the deal is one-sided. And I'm sure at one point in time, the leaders in that country actually signed off on the deal. Maybe they signed it under duress, or they signed it knowing the details in the contract or the agreement. We don't know. But the thing is that this Orano company is sued Niger in the World Bank's arbitration court just to bar them from selling the uranium in the international market.
Yes, I mean, when the African leaders that I know, let me concentrate on the Nigerian politicians and then government personnel that I know. They don't act, on behalf of the country. They always, when I say they don't act on behalf of the country, they always look out for themselves. They always look out for their interests. They do not have the interest of the country at heart. So that is why they will continue. They have been signing some of these one-sided deals, and they will continue to do it until I'm not sure when they will stop it, because to them, their interest, their selfish interest, is far outweigh the interest of the entire country. Word on the street is that Shell allegedly paid $300 million to Ogoniland for the Ogoniland to be cleaned up and taken care of. A governor in the South decided to use the money to build supermarkets, and branded the supermarkets his own. So that is the nature of African leaders. I am not trying to derogate Africa vis-a-vis Nigeria, but that's what they are. That's how they are completely. They don't look out for the country. They look out for their own pocket. So in the case of France and Niger, yeah, if there is some like outstanding balance and then they ended the contract in a way that is not mutually accepted, to both parties. So I think they have every right to take them to court for them to settle whatever they owe them or they think they're entitled to. We can make excuse for all of this all we want. But once something is signed, according to Americans, once you sign the dotted line, there's no going back. If you go back to it, that is you altering the terms of the agreement or defaulting on the contract, and then you'll be made to pay whatever damages you've caused the other party. And I think that is what is happening. As far as I'm not a fan of Macron or France, but I think they've taken a step in the right direction. We can make the argument whether the deal was the one-sided or mutually beneficial, but the whole thing is that the Niger defaulted on the contract and they have to pay.
So you're saying a contract is a contract regardless of the contents of the contract?
Definitely. I mean, I did not ask you not to read your contract.
I agree with you. A contract is a contract. But when a contract is one-sided or when a contract is not mutually beneficial, then that's a problem. We've seen cases whereby an artist will sign with a label, and the label will take advantage of them, and the artist will find a way to get the label back to renegotiate the contract and make the contract work on both sides and make it work for them. We don't know the details, but we can speculate that maybe the J has been trying to get in touch with Orano to redo the contract to make sure it benefits them or make sure it benefits the Niger people. But if Urano is not coming back to the table, then whoever has the leverage can always use the leverage to get whatever they want. I agree. A contract is a contract. But when a contract is one sided, then that's a problem. Then both parties needs to come back to the table, and renegotiate the contract in good faith to make it work for the people. So one party should not be benefiting more than the other party, especially when we're talking about mineral resources. We're talking about resources from Africa. We know that the Africans are on the land, and investors, in this case, Orano, is bringing money to develop the production of the mineral in order for them to make money. Yeah. Should Orano make money? Yes. Should the people of Niger benefit from it too? Yes. Should the benefit be 50-50? We can talk about it. We can talk about that negotiation, but they should both benefit. And if the contract is one sided, then everyone needs to come back to the table. And this brings me to another question. If the mineral resources is on your land, regardless who the investor is, who owns the property? Who owns the rights to the resources?
If it is on your property as an individual,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've seen this argument once on the Instagram. A lawyer was addressing it. I think it belongs to the government. It
Okay.
definitely belongs to the government. But let me cycle back to the case of Niger. If I am having maybe a business dealing with you or with an individual, and we get to the point of sealing the deal, okay, and signing the contract, it behoves on me as an individual to get me a lawyer to read the contract to me, to read the fine details of the contract. Okay. I can't come back after so many years and say I did not understand the terms of the contract. That would make me look stupid. In the case of Niger, don't forget that the ousted president of Niger was in power from 1960 to 2003, 2023. That's several years in office. He probably signed that contract. And I can guarantee you that if the military had not taken over the Niger government, nobody would have been talking about renegotiating that contract. They wouldn't have even chased the France out. France was living large when that president was there. They only got problem with Nigeria when the military came into power. If the military had not come into power, I can guarantee you that this contract would have gone on to 100 years, 300 years, 500 years, so long is serving their purpose. This is the level of corruption we find in Africa. This is, in fact, you did be surprised that if you go back and look at some of the dealings, Nigerians are having with some of these multinational companies, it's the same across Africa. They don't even take time to read. In fact, I think it was you that was saying the other day that, Nigerians will go to China to sign a deal and the deals will be in Chinese. Who is reading that contract? Who is reading the fine print? Who is interpreting? Nobody. But so long they will be able to see some few millions of dollars to put in their pocket as a kickback, nobody cares. They just leave the whole debt for the next generation to pay. It doesn't bother them. So long they can see at least maybe 1 billion or maybe some millions of dollars, 10 million, 100 million, $300 million to put in their pocket. They don't care about what the term of the contract says or whatever. It doesn't bother them. They are just after their own pocket. This is the common trend we see in Africa. This is the big problem. And they have to look for a way to address it. For some of these countries like Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Chad that have gone the way of military, they will probably have time to, look at all some of these contracts and say, you know what, these are bogus contracts. They need to come back to negotiation table, or they will forfeit some of these their investment. But for some of the countries that are running a democracy, Nigeria, all of those, Ghana, they will probably never have time to look at these things. So we'll just accept our fate.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. A contract is a contract. I do get it. But as an investor, shouldn't you make sure that the agreement favors both parties?
That is not your business. Your
Okay,
business is
I agree with
to
you.
line your pocket.
I agree with you. Your goal is to make money. And when the next government comes into power and kick you out, then you should have nothing to complain about.
You take them
And
to
then
court. You take them to
crying
court with
about
your paperwork.
taking the contract to court. Maybe you should have made sure at the inception of the contract that the contract is mutually beneficial, and then when the next government comes into power, they won't have any reason to review the contract and make sure that the contract is good. I get what you're saying. Burkina Faso, all these countries, Mali, Chad, guess what? They have the leverage and they're using it. President Trump has a leverage. That's why he's using tariffs to fight some of his wars, right? He's putting tariffs on China because he has leverage, right? He wants to bring money to the US. He wants to keep jobs in the US. The same leverage that President Trump has, same leverage those country leaders, those African leaders have to ensure that their people are well taken care of. So if that's the route they want to go, if they want to throw the contract away and say, hey, come back to the table or forfeit your investment, maybe you get their attention. Maybe they'll come back to the table and give you a contract that is fair, that will benefit you and benefit your people.
Right, but this is not the way to go about it. The best way to go about it is to approach them diplomatically and say, we looked at some of these things, they are not really mutually beneficial to both parties. Okay, let me cycle back. First of all, if I'm having a business dealing with you, your goal is not for me to make money. Your goal is for you to make money, to line your pocket as much as you can. And my goal should be for me to make money as much as I can. And that includes me taking time to read the fine print of the contract, and agreeing to the terms of the contract and endorsing it, putting my signature, you know. But if some of these countries, I don't like what France did to some of these countries. A lot of these countries, I don't like what they did to them. In fact, a lot of them still have their foreign reserves in France, France bank. But this is it: if they insist to throw away the contract, the world will make them pay. The world does not. In fact, some of these countries does not exist in isolation. The world will make them pay. A lot of them, their money is still with French banks. They will take that money. In fact, UN, all those WTO, whatever, they can confiscate their money until they pay. Before now, I used to wonder why do some of these countries insist that all of these developing countries should keep their foreign reserves in overseas banks. I think this is one of the reasons. You misbehave, you throw away contract that exists between you and another party, they will confiscate your foreign reserve until you pay that money. It's that simple. And as much as I hate or I don't like what France did to some of these countries, but you can't just throw away contract like that because it doesn't serve your purpose. You have to approach it diplomatically. You don't approach it like the world revolves around you. You exist in isolation. No, it doesn't. In fact, they can even buy countries. They can buy you from international market from selling that product until you pay that money. You will be made to pay. They will twist your arm and you will pay that money until you pay that money. You can't sell that product to anybody.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And there are always ways around all the penalties you're talking about, right? The World Bank will hold them accountable, WTO will hold them accountable, IMF will hold them accountable. What about China? Who's going to do that to China? Who's going to do that to the US? Who's going to do that to Israel? Who's going to do it to Russia? Why is it only Africans that all these big banks, all these international banks have muscles? Why
Because you
is
don't have
that?
leverage. You don't bring anything to the table.
Okay, well, you're saying we're not bringing anything to do. Well, we're bringing our land. We're bringing our mineral resources to the table. It belongs to Africans, right? That's what we're bringing to the table, and that's what's making them money. So I think it's now important for these African leaders to self-develop, to grow their economy, work with other countries that are willing to work with you. I mean, if you put tariffs on China, if you put penalties on China, they're still going to do business with other countries. And North Korea has been isolated. They're still doing business. I mean, they're
And I
still
bet
finding a
I
way to make money.
bet you
So
none of these countries want to live like North Korea.
of course they don't want to. So I'm sure there are people who don't want to live like North Koreans, but at the same time, there are other countries out there that will work with you, right? And Netanyahu has an ICC warrant. He's traveling the U.S. He's going out whenever he wants. Russian president too. They're all doing whatever they want. So African leaders need to self-develop. They need to truly gain their independence without ruffling feathers, without taking bold steps, making bold decisions. The true independence will never come. So I believe to get their attention, bring it back to the table, negotiate a contract, and make it work for the people. I believe that's why they're doing what they're doing. And Trump is using the same tactics, right? Is ripping up previous agreements signed by previous government, and is rewriting histories and making things happen. Why can't these African leaders do the same? You have the leverage, whatever you have, you're going to use it to get what you don't have. So it's really important that these leaders continue to take both steps and put their countries first. The colonial masters are not going to put your countries first. The investors are not going to put your country first. The onus is on you to take care of your people. And I believe that's what those leaders are doing. Are they going about it the right way? I don't know. It's their land, right? They can control who comes to their country and who leaves their country. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, let us know what you think in the comment section. Do you think the way Niger is going about this issue with France is the right way? Do you think France or stopping them from selling their mineral, their uranium is the right thing to do? Let us know how best you think they could have resolved this issue, and we'll be happy to read your comment in the comment section. Thank you.